Foreign Medical Graduate Examination, December 2020. Hello friends, I am Dr. Vivek Jain. Before starting the discussion of this examination, the PSM part, let us look at the exam overall and the PSM subject per se. Friends, after having discussion with the students who attempted the exam, few things were very evident. Overall, the paper was very tricky like the last time, but overall the PSM questions were quite easy. Number 2, there were many one-liner questions, but quite a few questions were constructed or made into 2 to 3 liners to give rise to clinical scenario based MCQs. There were many questions from the expected topics and there were quite a few repeats also. The best thing about the examination, most important point this time was that there were not too many never heard type of questions. Totally new questions were very few. Like in the subject of PSM, only one question I can recall like that. When we look at the FMG December 2020 paper, overall PSM came with 31 direct questions, 3 questions were overlapped with other subjects, giving rise to 34 total questions, which constitutes more than 10% of your paper. Friends, for helping me construct the paper, correct language of the questions along with choices, I would like to thank my subscriber students of the app Dr. Vivek Jain PSM, also the students who are in PrepLadder Premium Club and FMG preparation group, and also over a Zoom meet where I got to discuss the paper with a bunch of brilliant students, especially Dr. Bhakti, Dr. Sayyed, Dr. Alpana and Dr. Ankur. Thank you friends. So friends, let's start the paper. Let's come to the question number 1. Identify the logo given in the image below. Read the choices carefully. Is it first aid logo? Is it Red Cross logo? Is it the logo of Suraksha Clinic? Or is it the logo used by allopathic private clinical practitioners? Very right friends. It is actually the logo of Suraksha Clinic. Now what is Suraksha Clinic? Friends, when we look at this Suraksha Clinic, this is nothing new. It is just the new name of already existing RTI, that is reproductive tract infection, STI, sexually transmitted infections clinic. These Suraksha clinics have been established by NACO, National AIDS Control Organization, and they are available district level and upwards in the country. When located in a medical college, they are mainly associated with dermatology department of the college. Friends, so as not to confuse it with similar looking logos in the upcoming examination, let's look at this one. This is actually the logo of Red Cross. International Red Cross was founded by Henry Dunant. This is the logo of First Aid. So when you see a first aid kit or a box, you will find this logo on that. Also this logo also is the logo of First Aid as used in many parts of the world currently. Identifying this Suraksha Clinic logo was not difficult friends. I had already discussed that along with the logo in the topic of STDs under communicable diseases section of my mobile application for foreign medical graduate students. We move to the question number 2 now. Rabies free state in India is? Friends, why a state is likely to be rabies free in a developing country like India? It is mainly when it is an island state. See, we very frequently say water is an effective barrier against rabies. What does it mean? Now friends, why water is considered an effective barrier against rabies? Please remember, rabies is close to 100% case fatality rate. So once there are some cases in an island state, they are likely to die. If there are animals who are having rabies, they may die or they may be killed by the authorities. And there is a ban on import of animals from outside to that island state. That way, most of the island states or rather island countries in the world also are rabies free. So when we look at India, island state given in the choices is very right, Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So friends, when you look at our country, the Andaman Nicobar Islands and on the other side, Lakshadweep Islands are currently rabies free. When you look globally, island countries like New Zealand, Australia, Taiwan, Japan, Singapore, they are totally rabies free. This also I had categorically mentioned in the mobile video lecture app rabies disease section under communicable diseases. Friends, I didn't write on this slide, but when I mentioned water is a barrier, I categorically mentioned that Andaman and Nicobar Islands and Lakshadweep are two rabies free places in our country. Looking at the next question now. Training is given to a auxiliary nurse midwife worker. Now you have to check her ability to do immunization. You are the medical officer. She is having cotton, lunchbox and syringe needle after immunization of a child. Which of the following is true? So friends, this is related to biomedical waste management disposal guidelines which are currently in use in our country. So friends, let's first look at what are the 4 types of color coded biomedical waste management bags in the India and which type of biomedical waste go into that. Then we'll come back to this question. First type of bag is yellow bag. Which type of waste goes into yellow bag? This includes human anatomical waste. It also includes any type of animal waste which is generated from experimentation. It includes soiled waste, any cotton or cloth material which may be contaminated with pus or blood or any other body fluid. Beside that, discarded or expired medications. Along with that, any type of liquid chemical waste. Also, if there is any type of microbiological or biotechnological waste. As discussed in app video, it also includes bed linen and mattresses. Ultimately, they are disposed mainly by the method of incineration. Second type of color coded bag is red bag, where we generally use it for disposal of contaminated, that is recyclable waste. So it will include all the plastic material, syringe after immunization, Foley's catheter, any tube, any plastic part of a bag will go into red bag. Third type is white colored and it is mainly a puncture proof container. Why puncture proof? Because it is used mainly for disposal of waste sharp material. So needle after immunization, surgical blade, scalpel or any other sharp generated from a hospital. Fourth type of biomedical waste color coded category is blue, where blue cardboard boxes are used if we are using it for disposal of either glassware or any metallic implants in the body. So friends, once you have understood this, let's now go back to our question. Now look at this question, look at the choices, which of them is correct. Look at choice number A, syringe with needle in translucent white container. This is not correct. Why? Syringe is plastic, it cannot go into white, it will go into red bag. Look at choice number B, used vial in translucent. No, vial is mostly glass, so that cannot be thrown into white, it will go into blue. Look at choice number C, cotton swab in yellow bag. Cotton swab is a soiled waste, so it will go into yellow bag. This is correct. Look at choice number 4, food waste in blue box. No, food waste is not a biomedical waste. It will be disposed of like municipal waste, existing guidelines in the country. So this is also not correct. So correct answer to this question is choice number C. Friends, I am pretty much sure you attempted this answer correctly. because biomedical waste management guidelines, I have discussed in the app in detail that all the soiled waste where I categorically mentioned cotton and any type of cotton swab will be going in the yellow color coded category bag. Let us move to the next question now. Niti Aayog has replaced which of the following agencies? Friends, first you should know what is Niti Aayog. It is actually an abbreviated form of National Institute for Transforming India. So very smartly, Niti in Hindi means policy, but Niti itself has a full form, National Institute for Transforming India. It is actually the new name of pre-existing National Planning Commission of India. National Planning Commission of India came into existence in 1950. But on 1st of January 2015, it gave way to Niti Aayog. Now friends, when we look at Niti Aayog, it comprises of mainly Prime Minister as the chairperson of this Aayog. Along with him, there are chief ministers of all the states in the country, along with lieutenant governor of the union territories. Now looking at the next question, a screening test is used for a disease in a population. See the image below, and question asked was, what does B2C represents? That means in this question they are asking, what is this B2C? And on the right side of the image, a legend was given where it was told what is A, B, C, D and E. So friends, let's try to understand the concept first. Let's try to look at image in detail. Now this is the image. If it is not clear on the screen, let me zoom it and magnify it for you even further. Let's look at it now in more detail. It has 5 points. Point A, B, C, D and E. Point A is disease onset. B is first possible detection. C is critical, final critical point, after which treatment may not yield desired benefit. D is usual point of diagnosis. Many times in our developing countries like India, disease may be diagnosed after the critical point is passed. Let's say a person comes to you for the first time with metastasis. Already it may be stage 4 of the cancer. And point number E is final outcome. It may be death of the person. It may be cure or recovery. Or it may be a person living but with complications or disabilities. Now friends, when we look at this particular diagram, now let's try to understand it in detail. If you have to use a screening test, between which 2 points will you like to apply this screening test? Is it A and B, B and C, C and D or D and E? Very right, it is between B and C. Why? Because before B, it is not possible to detect the disease. After C, screening test is not of much use because critical point has already passed. Now the benefit will not be desired. So friends, actually this B to C is screening time. So if a person comes to you early and you can detect the disease in that person early, screen the disease early, early treatment, better prognosis, better survival, no doubt about that. And now compare these 2 points. One is point number B. This is the point where person comes to you for screening when he was apparently healthy. Look at point number D. This is the point where person comes to you after disease has spread in the body or disease has reached one of its later stages. So this B to D is known as lead time. What is lead time? Lead time is how much you are leading the time of detection of disease. Without screening, he will come to you later at D. With screening, he comes to you earlier between B and C. This B to D gap is how much earlier you are detecting the disease, leading to better prognosis and prolonged survival of the patient. And definitely, there is no doubt, if you can apply a screening test between B and C, there is a chance you can alter the final outcome to F. Take an example. If you can detect cervical carcinoma in situ stage between B and C, early detection, early stage of cancer, better treatment, better prognosis, prolonged survival. So friends, this outcome F is definitely going to be better than outcome E, which would have taken place if the lady presented to you at the point of D, that is usual point of diagnosis. Now let's go back to our original question. Now friends, question categorically asked B to C. B to C in this question would be definitely screening time. If they asked you B to D, then it would become lead time as the answer. Lead time is also known as advantage gained by a screening test. Now friends, this was a direct question from the screening of disease topic discussed in the mobile application by Dr. Vivek Jain, where I had explained to you the concept of screening and lead time in extensive detail. Let us move to the next question now. Question was, ASHA worker in rural areas is designated for how much population? Friends, ASHA worker, first you should know who is ASHA worker. ASHA word itself has a full form, accredited social health activist. She has been created as a cadre of worker under NRHM, National Rural Health Mission 2005 to 12, which has continued in the country as now National Health Mission 2013 onwards. This ASHA worker initially was designated to be for one ASHA worker per village. In terms of population, that was designated as 1 per 1000 population. Once we achieved that, in 2011, a new norm was proposed that now we should have 2 ASHA workers per village or 1000 population. Now look at the question. Question is, an ASHA worker is designated for how much population? So it is 1 per 1000 population, which we now plan to increase to 2 per 1000 population or 2 per village. So under National Rural Health Mission, ASHA is a key cadre of workers. She is supposed to be a 25 to 45-year-old female, resident of same village where she is supposed to work, expected to be minimum 10th pass, but this is relaxable. She is supposed to get a training of 23 days at PHC, and this training is supposed to be given by Anganwadi worker and auxiliary nurse midwife. ASHA worker is selected by village panchayat, that is Gram Sabha, and she has to report also to village panchayat or Gram Sabha. ASHA worker act as a bridge between population on one side and auxiliary nurse midwife on the other side. Major impact indicator to assess ASHA's work is reduction in infant mortality rate of the village. Now friends, if you look, this point we had categorically discussed in the topic of healthcare system of the country, where all the key important health workers were discussed in extensive detail. So let us move to the next question now. Calculate neonatal mortality rate. So we are asked to calculate neonatal mortality rate from the data given. Friend, first you tell me who is a neonate. Neonate is someone who is having an age of 0 to 28 days. So I can say first 4 weeks of life, roughly first month of life, it is divided into 2 parts. First is early neonatal period, that is 0 to 7 days, or I can say first week of life. Then it is followed by late neonatal, 8 to 28 days of life, or second, third and fourth week of life. Together they comprise neonatal period. Now let us look at this question. You are asked to calculate neonatal mortality rate. So first you should know what is the formula of neonatal mortality rate. Neonatal mortality rate, numerator is neonatal deaths, total number of deaths occurring in neonatal period. Denominator is total live births in that community during that period, and multiplier is 1000. So it is a direct calculation based question. Let's look at the parameters or the data given now. Question says total number of live births were 4000. So denominator is given directly. Multiplier we know is 1000. So only thing we have to calculate carefully is the numerator. Let's read the question further. It says death among babies who were of the age day 0 to 7 were 40. Day 0 to 7. So this I can say is early neonatal mortality. Similarly, day 7 to 28 were also 40. This will become late neonatal mortality. After that, they have given more than 1 month age is 40, that is post neonatal, and in utero perinatal they have given 40. But for neonatal we only need up till 28 days. So early plus late. So that will become 40 early plus 40 late. So this will be a total of 80 neonatal deaths 0 to 28 days of age, giving us an answer of 20 neonatal mortality rate per 1000 live births. Friends, also you should know the current neonatal mortality rate of India is 24. It implies 24 neonatal deaths for every 1000 live births in the country. Friends, I had discussed this topic in extensive detail while discussing the maternal and child health MCH indicators in the video. So not only formulae but its calculation, how they are expressed, commonest cause in India and current value of India was suitably explained. So kindly go through that video lecture again. Let us move to the next question now. The question mentioned a research study is being conducted on patients in rehabilitation where impact of addiction among young adults was seen, and it was assessed for subsequent divorce. Among two groups of study subjects, divorce and non-divorce, history of alcohol drug use was assessed. What kind of study was done? Friends, you just have to read this question carefully. They're just asking you the study design. So let's look at that. If you look at the question carefully, they have given many clues. A study is being conducted on patients. That means disease has already developed. What they are looking at is impact of addiction in young adults, and it was assessed on subsequent divorce. So I can say this addiction is the exposure and divorce subsequently is the outcome. And how they have conducted this study? They took two groups of study subjects categorically mentioned. One was divorced and one were non-divorced. So I can say one group is already having the outcome in question, other is the group without the outcome. So this is a type of, because they are also asking, if you see the history of alcohol drug use. So they have taken one group of people having the disease, one group without the disease. Then they are going back in time and assessing or asking history of drug or alcohol use. This is definitely a type of, yes, case control study. Divorced people are cases. People who have not undergone divorce are the controls. In both the groups, you are asking the same history. So this is a case control study. You will be able to make a 2x2 table and you can calculate the strength of association. What is the strength of association in a case control study? That is odds ratio. If in this question odds ratio comes more than 1, definitely past drug or alcohol use is associated with subsequent divorce. If it comes equal to 1, then there is no association between these two. And if it comes less than 1, then alcohol drug use is rather protective for subsequent divorce in the young adults. Friends, this was a direct concept based question. I am sure you have attempted it correctly. In the app video also, I had categorically discussed case control study in extensive detail where the design is retrospective. I have explained from cases and control, you go in a backward direction. I took the example of lung cancer and smoking, which in this question they suitably converted to divorce and history of drug or alcohol use in the past. So friends, you should go through all the epidemiological study designs from the mobile app. You'll understand the concept as well as calculation related questions. Let us move forward to the next question now. Next question was, sample registration system does not include MMR, maternal mortality rate, IMR, infant mortality rate, birth rate or death rate. Now friends, I confirmed with many students were of the view that this was the exact question and choices. If that is the case, then answer is actually none of the above. Why? In sample registration system, actually infant mortality, birth rate, death rate, they are being assessed on a routinely basis. Also, we are assessing other types of maternal and child health related mortalities like maternal mortality, under 5 mortality also is assessed. So these type of questions, it become difficult to mark the answer. Maybe if you still want to mark, you can mark maternal mortality rate, but that won't be a correct answer in current scenario. In fact, I have been sharing with you regular data through app and my other social media channels also, the SRS bulletin which is released on a frequent basis. So you can see we have got birth rate, death rate, infant mortality rate and natural growth rate which are being assessed on a regular basis. This is the latest SRS released in May 2020. At the same time, if you look at MMR, a special bulletin on maternal mortality in India was released in the year 2020 itself, where latest maternal mortality rate of the country 113 was found. This was also done through sample registration system in the country. And friends, this was a topic which was discussed in detail in the demography video in the mobile app, that SRS is including all the types of common MCH related mortality indicators. Infant mortality rate, maternal mortality rate are definitely included. Beside that, crude birth rate, crude death rate, natural growth rate, along with that under 5 mortality rate, neonatal mortality rate are also assessed in this system. Moving to the next question, mortality is taken into consideration in. Friends, this was a purely definition based question. If you look, what is TFR, total fertility rate? This is defined as total number of children that are born to a woman in her entire reproductive lifespan. If out of those children you focus on girls, that becomes gross reproduction rate. Total number of girl children born to a woman in her entire reproductive lifespan. Now friends, if you see, net reproduction rate is also same. This is also total number of girl children born to a woman in her entire reproductive lifespan. Then how it is different from GRR? This is taking into account their mortality. So friend, this was a direct, easy definition based question. Answer will be choice number B, net reproduction rate. Look at choice number D, completed family size is actually a synonym of total fertility rate only. Current TFR of the country is 2.2 according to the latest NFHS National Family Health Survey 4 data, and the target or the goal for this is 2.1. If we can achieve TFR to be 2.1, NRR will become approximately 1 and Indian population is likely to stabilize by the year 2045. Friends, I am sure you must have attempted this question correctly. I have categorically defined these parameters TFR, GRR, NRR and mathematical relationship they have with each other. So friends, I can say this was a direct question taken from the mobile video lecture app, topic demography. Now let's look at the Next question of the paper. White bag is used for disposal of. Friends, as we discussed in a previous question, white bag is actually white container. Mostly it is translucent and it is puncture proof also. Why do we keep a container that is puncture proof? Because the biomedical waste supposed to be disposed of in white container is metallic sharp waste. So this will include surgical blades, scissors, if there is any needle after immunization, if there is any scalpel, that will also go into white bin. Now since this white bin contains sharp waste, ultimately the final disposal of mechanism after pre-treatment is iron foundries. Or it will find its way into a landfill. Biomedical waste management topic has been discussed in ample detail in the app. Kindly go through that. As I had categorically told you, waste sharp go into the white category of biomedical waste. This question I am sure you have attempted correctly in the examination. Let us look at the next question of the FMG December 2020 paper now. STD kit color for female with vaginal discharges. Friends, to understand that, let us first look at what are the different types of STD color coded kits available in the National AIDS Control Program of India. Friends, there are total 7 STD color coded kits and they are a part of syndromic approach. What is syndromic approach? A patient comes to your health center with signs and symptoms suggestive of a particular sexually transmitted disease. Limited diagnostic facilities are available. So you may not be able to diagnose the infection through lab technique, but by symptomatology, you should be able to identify and give him the or her the appropriate kit for treatment and make him or her understand how to consume the medications in that kit. So this is known as syndromic approach, treatment directly given on the basis of symptomatology, which help us identify the particular STD related syndrome. So out of the 7 kits, kit number 1 is grey. This kit is meant for urethral, cervical, anorectal discharge along with scrotal swelling. Kit number 2 is green in color and this is meant for vaginal discharge. Kit number 3 is white. This white STD color coded kit is for GUD, genito-ulcerative disease, which is non-herpetic. Similarly, kit number 4, that is blue, is also for genito-ulcerative disease non-herpetic, but this is for those patients who are allergic to penicillin. Kit number 5 is red. This is also for genito-ulcerative disease but herpetic type. Kit number 6 is yellow and this is for lower abdominal pain, that is PID, and kit number 7 is black, that is for inguinal bubo. So friends, you have to memorize these 7 color coded kits in sequence with color and number and the syndromes they cover, and if possible the medications inside that. So we have kit number 1 till 7, grey, green, white, blue, red, yellow and black in sequence. Let's now look at the question which came in our exam. Question was female with vaginal discharge. As we have discussed just now, this is very right Kit number 2, that is green in color. Friends, we had discussed this topic in detail in the app video also. Let's look at that. All the 7 kits along with the syndromes they cover under syndromic approach were discussed in ample detail. Now let's look at the next question. Next question also again from the same topic, STD kit color for male urethral discharge. As we have discussed just now, it will be kit number 1 gray. So friends, this is a popular topic in your exams. Kindly go through this topic from my mobile video lecture app. Look at the STD STI topic under communicable diseases section for all the relevant details. Now let's move to the next question of the FMG December 2020 paper. A new drug is introduced in the market after which phase of clinical trial? Friends, generally traditionally clinical trial has 4 phases. A new drug is introduced in the market after? Very right, phase 3 clinical trial. In fact, first phase, if you see, this is for safety and toxicity profile of the drug. What is the unit of study in phase 1? It is done on healthy human volunteers. If it is found to be safe and non-toxic, in phase 2, we proceed to patients where we try to assess effectiveness in real life situation or efficacy in controlled lab situations in a small number of patients in phase 2. If a drug is able to clear this phase, then phase 3 is also performed on patients. But now it is a comparison trial with existing drugs in the market. If it clears this phase also, that means your new drug is better than the existing drugs in the market. Now you launch it in the market after phase 3. Now the drug will sell and patients who get it will benefit in the longer run. After that, phase 4 is also done on patients, but this is done to assess long-term and rare side effects, because phase 4 is after launching the drug in the market and you are looking at side effects. It is also known as post-marketing surveillance, surveillance of side effects after marketing the drug. It is the longest phase of a trial. Also remember which phase of a trial is RCT by nature, that is phase 3. This becomes the most important phase of a clinical trial of a new drug also. Maximum failure is reported from phase 2. And where do we evaluate MTD, maximum tolerated dose of a drug? That is found in phase 1. Under the new guidelines before phase 1, we have a phase 0 also, where the drug is tested on a very small number of healthy human volunteers to assess for its efficacy and non-toxicity profile. That is known as phase 0 microdosing. Friends, this was also a scoring question in your FMG paper this time, because clinical trials are asked in the exam every time. In the epidemiology section of my app video, I have described this in ample detail and categorically delineated that a drug is launched in the market after phase 3. Moving to the next question of the paper now. A health worker nurse got an accidental prick with HIV positive needle. Parameter used to test for confirmatory diagnosis. Friends, HIV can spread mainly through 4 routes. These are sexual route, needle syringes, blood transfusion, and vertical mother to child transmission. Out of these 4 routes, all of us must be aware that sexual route is most common, especially the heterosexual route, but most dangerous efficacious route is blood transfusion. When we look at needle stick injury, it carries a risk of only 0.1 to 0.3% chances of transmission. But nevertheless, it is also a big risk of transmission. Screening is done by ELISA. Now, ELISA screening has very high sensitivity. But it lacks specificity. Its main role is to detect antibodies. If ELISA is positive, then confirmatory diagnosis in Indian program is done by WBA, Western blot assay. It is a protein based test which is having a very high specificity. Also, you must know it is based on P24 and GP41 in the viral structure of HIV viral particle. So, answer to this question is Western blot assay. Friends, advantage of P24 antigen test is it can be used in window period, that is even before seroconversion. It is also useful in late advanced disease also. And rather, when we are looking at window period, one of the very good tests to do is HIV, RNA, genomic sequencing where we use NAT, nucleic acid amplification test. HIV being a popular topic has been covered extensively in the app under relevant sections. Under the screening topic of the app, where I have listed down the common screening and confirmatory diagnostic test, you can find that Western blot assay is used in India as a mainstay of diagnosis for HIV in the country. Looking at the next question now. Students of same boarding school have been eating from the same canteen. So read the question carefully. Eating food from the same canteen. One student developed abdominal pain, jaundice fever. Abdominal pain, jaundice fever. So hints towards some fecal disease. And similarly, soon other students present with similar symptoms. Similar symptoms means it has to be through the food of the common canteen they are using. Hostel medical officer will investigate for which of the following parameters to establish diagnosis. Now friends, it has to be food or waterborne, having jaundice also, fever also. So it has to be hepatitis. Now if you look at 5 types of hepatitis, A, B, C, D and E. Which of them spread through fecal route? That is mainly hepatitis A and hepatitis E. On the other hand, hepatitis B, C and D are mainly transmitted through sexual, blood or needle syringes route. So it has to be hepatitis A according to the choices. Hepatitis A is also the most common cause of hepatitis among children as well as adults in the country. And we are doing an immediate investigation. So it has to be which antibody? IgM. So choice number A will be the correct answer. IgM for hepatitis A. Friends, for hepatitis A you must know it is caused by enterovirus (72) which belongs to Picornaviridae family. In children, if you look, it mainly remains subclinical. Almost 80 to 95% cases are subclinical, but it provides lifelong immunity. Once you look at adults, in adults, 75 to 90% cases are icteric, presents with jaundice. The disease has an incubation period of 15 to 45 days, that is 2 to 6 weeks, and its period of infectivity is 2 weeks prior to onset of jaundice till 1 week afterwards. Reservoir is only humans. Now friends, if you look at the profile of a case, you can see that IgM, this antibody, peaks after 2 weeks of elevation of liver enzymes, and generally it becomes non-detectable totally within 3 to 6 months also. And this IgM is taken as confirmatory diagnostic test of choice, and it is done by using ELISA. When you look at communicable disease section in the app, go through hepatitis in that, where all the major types of hepatitis, especially the markers of hepatitis B, all hepatitis routes of transmission, incubation periods, and the causative agent epidemiology has been discussed in ample detail. Another question was, a patient presented with rash and diarrhea since 2 months. Identify the deficiency as shown in the image below. Friends, if you see, you can see patient is having dermatitis. Also, it is given patient is having rash in the question and diarrhea also since last 2 months. And another very big clue in the photograph, if you look around the neck of the person, this form of dermatitis is known as Castle's necklace. Let us see this photograph on a zoom enhanced basis. So friends, this is a case of, very right, this is a case of pellagra. Now pellagra is characterized by 4 Ds. What are these 4 Ds? Diarrhea, dermatitis, third is dementia, and fourth is death. Now let's go back to our question now. So friends, this pellagra is caused due to deficiency of which vitamin? That is vitamin B3, also known as niacin, niacin deficiency. This pellagra is typically seen in maize or jowar eating population. As discussed in the topic of nutrition, all of us know deficiency of tryptophan leads to pellagra due to niacin deficiency. But more than the deficiency of tryptophan, underlying culprit is actually excess of leucine, which inhibits the conversion of tryptophan to niacin in the body. And all of you must remember, what is the conversion ratio of tryptophan to niacin in the body? 60 milligram tryptophan converts to 1 milligram niacin in the body under routine conditions. Friends, under the topic of nutrition, nutritional deficiencies, pellagra has been discussed in ample detail with a similar image of dermatitis being shown on the hands of the patient. Moving further in the paper, next question is, what is the minimum thickness of lead apron required? Friends, we can keep lead apron thickness to be 0.25 millimeter. We can keep it to be minimum 0.5 millimeter, or we can keep it to be minimum 1 millimeter. Now when we look at 0.25, this is inadequate for most of the procedures, but it is useful in mammography. When we look at 1 millimeter or above thickness, that suit turns out to be very heavy. So most widely used, most widely recommended thickness of lead apron is 0.5 millimeter. It has been found in studies that 0.5 mm lead apron thickness is able to attenuate more than 90% of scattered radiation. Friends, this was also a direct question taken from my mobile video lecture app under the topic of environment. When you go through the topic of radiation, this point had been amply highlighted that thickness of lead apron should be minimum 0.5 mm to protect yourself from radiation. Look at the next question in the paper. A woman who is lactating comes to OPD after 6 weeks of delivery for checkup and she is asking for advice for contraception. Now please read the question carefully. Which of the following is not advised? So friends, 6 weeks after delivery. So this is the phase of lactation. During lactation, which of the following contraceptive should not be given? That is combined OCP. Why? Combined OCP suppresses lactation. Why will it suppress lactation? This is due to its estrogen component. And we don't want lactational failure. We want to give exclusive breastfeeding to the newborn till minimum 6 months to be continued later with complementary feeding. So during lactation, estrogen cannot be given. So we advise the mother to opt for mini pill. Mini pill is also known as, therefore, the pill of choice in lactation or lactation pill. Why it is known as pill of choice? Because it contains no estrogen, rather it has only progesterone, mostly in the form of LNG, levonorgestrel. Look at the topic of family planning, contraception in the mobile video lecture app. You will find this is a very easy direct scoring question. Progesterone only pill is pill supposed to be used during lactation in a woman. Another question from topic of contraception. A 22-year-old low socioeconomic female worker presents within 8 hours of sexual assault on 13th day of cycle and asks for emergency contraception. 13th day of cycle, high chances of pregnancy. She has presented within 8 hours and she is asking for emergency contraception. What will be your advice? Friends, out of the choices given, the best method will be choice number A, levonorgestrel 1.5 mg. That is actually a progesterone only pill, also known as mini pill, intraceptive emergency contraceptive used in the program. If you look at other methods, misoprostol, mifepristone, they are actually used as MMA, medical methods of abortion. They are utilized after pregnancy has taken place. In this question, they are not looking at abortion after pregnancy. They are looking at emergency contraception. Look at choice number D. OCP from first day of the next cycle is not recommended. Why? Next cycle, already pregnancy may have taken place and OCP are being hormones contraindicated during pregnancy. So, emergency contraceptive of choice in this condition would be progesterone only pill, levonorgestrel 1.5 mg. If you look at contraception topic in the app, I had discussed extensively in detail. Progesterone only pill, 2 pills have to be given. Each pill is 0.75 mg. So total dose of 1.5 mg has to be given. Both pills must be completed within 72 hours and there should be a gap of 12 hours between taking those 1+1 pill of progesterone only. Another question from contraceptive family planning topic. Contraindication of the device shown in the image. Device shown is IUD, intrauterine device, commonly known as copper T. Now friends, when we look at contraindications of IUD, they can be divided into two groups, absolute contraindication and relative contraindications. Absolute contraindications include pregnancy. It also includes PID, that is pelvic inflammatory disease, any type of abnormal vaginal bleeding, ectopic pregnancy, cancer of cervix, uterus, adnexa or pelvis. Similarly, when we look at relative contraindications, they include anemia, menorrhagia, history of PID, uterine malformation, unmotivated female, and if there are fibroids. Now read the question carefully. They are asking you contraindication. Read the choices. Correct answer will be right. PID, pelvic inflammatory disease in the woman. Friends, this was a repeat question from one of your earlier papers. And if you look at the previous year exam video discussions, this question had been explained in detail, where I mentioned absolute contraindications as well as relative contraindication, and in that question also answer was same. PID is the absolute contraindication of intrauterine devices. Next question, a child has an IQ level of 55. He is having mild mental retardation, moderate mental retardation, severe mental retardation, or normal IQ. Friends, first you should know how do we calculate IQ, that is intelligence quotient. It is calculated by the formula mental age divided by chronological age multiplier is 100, and then we calculate the IQ level. This is generally used up till the age of 15 years. In this question you don't have to calculate anything. They have given already IQ of the child is 55. Now friends, when we look at international IQ classifications like Wechsler classification, generally normal IQ is taken as lying between 90 to 109. But when we have to classify mental retardation, in those cases normal IQ is taken as whenever it is 70 or more. Below 70 IQ level, mental retardation starts, and it is divided into 4 categories. Mild mental retardation is if IQ level of the child is lying between 50 to 69. Then moderate 35 to 49. Severe mental retardation if it lies between 21 to 34. And if the IQ of the child is less than or equal to 20, it falls in the category of profound mental retardation. So answer to this question is direct. That will be mild mental retardation. In fact, most common type of mental retardation in India is mild only. And when we look at commonest cause also, that is Down syndrome. Friends, mental retardation has been discussed amply along with the topic of IQ level in the app, where international classification of IQ is given separately, and I have discussed mental retardation classification separately. So I am sure you have attempted this answer correct in the paper. Look at the next question of the paper. Vector of Zika virus diseases. Friends, Zika virus can transmit mainly through 4 routes of transmission. These are number 1, Aedes mosquito. So Aedes aegypti, Aedes albopictus, both transmit Zika virus disease. It can also transmit by sexual route, blood route, and mother to child transmission. So answer to this question is choice number B, Aedes aegypti, commonly known as tiger mosquito. Please remember, Zika virus disease has also shown association with microcephaly in the newborn child, also association with Guillain-Barré syndrome. It can lead to stillbirth, preterm delivery, and has also been found to be associated with neuropathy and myelitis. Friends, this was a scoring question because under emerging new infections under communicable diseases video, I have discussed in detail that Zika virus disease, the major route of transmission is Aedes aegypti. A new type of question came in the paper where relative risk for two vaccines was given, 0.5 and 2. Then which were used to prevent COVID-19 among health workers, and they asked out of the three graphs given A, B and C, which represent this situation correctly. Friends, to understand this, let us see graphs in a zoom magnified view. Friends, please remember the relative risk of the two vaccines or the drugs which were given was 0.5 and 2. So look at the graphs carefully, which of them represent correctly. Let us see graph number A. Now friends, before we come back to these graphs, let us try to understand the concept of relative risk. Relative risk is used to measure strength of association in a cohort study. It has three possibilities. It can come more than 1, it can come equal to 1, it can come less than 1. If you get it more than 1, we declare association is present, or I can say positive association is present. If it is equal to 1, then there is no association. A risk factor is not related to the disease under study. If it is less than 1, that is also associated, but that is known as negative or inverse association. That risk factor may be actually protective for the disease. So let's go back to our graphs now. Look at graph A. Here the two drugs are shown. Look at drug 1. It is having 0.5 relative risk. Look at drug 2. It is having relative risk 2. So this graph represents correctly. Look at graph number B now. This is having baseline at 1. Drug 1 is 0.5, this one, and drug 2 is 2 relative risk. So this graph is also correct, rather it is better because it is showing both the positive association 2 and inverse association 0.5 on the same graph in a slightly better way. Now look at graph C. Is it showing 0.5 and 2 correctly? No. So graph C is not correct. So let's go back to our question now. So friends, correct answer to this question will be graph number A and B. Friends, this is the best possible construction of the graphs as told by students because there were too many versions available. But idea is to understand the concept of relative risk. Then you will be able to identify the choice correctly in the exam also. Let's look at the next question. Urban heart is. This was a totally new topic asked for the first time in any examination of India. The full form of urban heart acronym is Urban Health Equity Assessment and Response Tool. This tool is used by WHO to identify and at the same time reduce also health inequities in the city. This urban heart has got three vital components. These are, number 1 is sound evidence. Number 2 is intersectoral action, and number 3 is community participation. Now when we look at details of urban heart as a tool, you will find it is used for local planning cycle. Since it helps in identifying and defining the problem, we are able to plan and implement policy and program for the betterment of the population. In fact, when we look at core indicators, there are total 12 core indicators in Urban Heart Tool, out of which you should focus on the 4 core indicators which are related to health. These are infant mortality, diabetes, tuberculosis, and road traffic injuries. Moving to the next question, which agency collects data and publishes large-scale surveys continuously regarding morbidity, family planning, and vital events? That is NSS, National Sample Survey, which is being undertaken regularly by NSSO, National Sample Survey Organization. NSSO regularly carries out large-scale sample surveys, that too in diverse fields. They are mainly based on household surveys. This was started in the country in 1950. Until date, 586 plus reports have been generated and shared with the population, policy and program makers. Prevalence is associated with, friends, prevalence is associated with predictive value. In fact, if you see, positive predictive value is directly related to prevalence. So as the prevalence of a disease increase in population, positive predictive value will increase. On the other hand, negative predictive value is inversely related to prevalence. As the prevalence increase in a population, negative predictive value of that test will decrease. This is also corroborated by Bayes' theorem. A topic mainly asked in PG exams, where we know that positive predictive value is related to 3 parameters, that is prevalence, sensitivity and specificity of a test. Similarly, negative predictive value is also related to these 3 parameters. Looking it in the form of a diagram so that you develop a good photographic memory, please remember, when we plot prevalence in a population for a disease and use predictive value on y-axis, then this is PPV. Positive predictive value increase as the prevalence increase because it is directly proportional to prevalence. And this red colored line is NPV, negative predictive value, which is inversely related to prevalence. So you can see in the graph, as the prevalence is increasing, negative predictive value is reducing for the same disease, same test in the population. High level best disinfectant is, friends, disinfectants are divided into 3 groups: high level disinfectants, intermediate level disinfectants, low level disinfectants. When we look at high level disinfectants, they are useful for vegetative microorganisms, lipid, non-lipid viruses, mycobacteria, fungal spores, and very few bacterial spores. This group of disinfectants include glutaraldehyde, (6% hydrogen peroxide, chlorine dioxide, and peracetic acid. So answer to this question is choice number C, glutaraldehyde. Intermediate level disinfectants are mainly used for mycobacteria, most viruses and bacteria, and are also called as tuberculosides. This includes sodium hypochlorite, that is in 1:50 dilution, phenolic detergent solutions. Low level disinfectants are only used in some viruses and bacteria. This group includes sodium hypochlorite 1:500 dilution, quaternary ammonia compounds, ethyl isopropyl alcohol 70 to 90%. Moving to the next question, newborn birth rate is 25 per thousand population. Total population given is 5,000. What is the total number of pregnancies per year? First, you calculate what is the total number of expected births in this population. It is given the birth rate of newborns is 25 per thousand population. So, 1000 population, 25 births. So, in 5,000 population, we expect a total of 125 births. But friends, read the question carefully. They are not asking you total number of expected births. They are asking you total number of pregnancies. In Indian situation, it has been found that there is an expected 10% pregnancy wastage also. So expected births were 125 and you add to that 10% pregnancy wastage, that will become 12.5 births which have gone wasted, giving us a total of 137.5 pregnancies. So answer to this question will be choice number B, 138 total pregnancies are expected per year in this population. Under ESI, after certification by medical officer, beneficiaries get 70% of wages for 3 months under which of the following benefit? Very right, this is sickness benefit. Now friends, when we look at ESI, what is ESI? Employees State Insurance. It is a type of insurance system which is running under the Ministry of Labor. Union Minister of Labor is the chairperson of this scheme. Under the scheme, employer as well as employee both have to contribute towards getting the benefits under ESI. And what is the contribution? Employer has to contribute 3.25% of wages. Employee has to contribute 0.75% of wages. Then they can avail of all benefits under this scheme. What are the various benefits under this scheme? Beneficiaries are those who have a income less than 21 per thousand per month currently. In those, full medical care is given if they are a beneficiary. Sickness benefit is 70% wages, that is for 3 months or 91 days. But if it is extended sickness benefit, it becomes 80% wages for 2 years. Disablement benefit is 90% wages. depending on whether it is temporary or permanent type of disability, he will get either 90% wages or as worked out by the medical board. Dependents benefit is also 90% wages given to surviving dependents of the deceased beneficiary under the program. Under ESI provisions, funeral expenses, $15,000, there is also a provision. Friends, this was a direct question from the mobile video lecture app. When you look at the topic of occupational health under allied sciences, all these benefits have been discussed in extensive detail. Looking at the next question, there is a group of 200 hypertensive patients. In first group, there are 100 patients who follow medical advice. In second group also, there are 100 patients who follow lifestyle advice. Then there is a test of both the groups after 3 months. Which of the following is the best test for significance to compare blood pressure levels? In both the groups, if you are comparing blood pressure level, which of the following is the best test of significance? Friends, you must know that parametric test are used when we have normally distributed quantitative data. Here we use students t-test, paired, unpaired. Paired is used when there is one group before and after an intervention. Unpaired is when you compare quantitative data in two different groups, mean and standard deviation. Or we can use ANOVA if there are 3 or more groups. Similarly, there are non-parametric tests. This is used for qualitative data, that is non-normally distributed data, where instead of mean and standard deviation, we compare percentages and fractions. So here we use two different tests. One is sign test. Sign test is used for before and after comparison of qualitative data percentage proportion. Chi-square test is used for 2 or more groups when we are comparing qualitative data, non-normally distributed data, percentage fraction in 2 or more groups. Now read this question carefully. Here it categorically mentions you are measuring blood pressure levels in 2 different groups. So it has to be unpaired students t-test. Friends, please remember, if same question says in both the groups you compare how much percentage of hypertension is reduced, what is the current percentage of hypertension in both the groups after 3 months, then it will become chi-square test as an answer. But here you are comparing blood pressure levels directly, so it will be a parametric test. There are 2 groups of people, so it will be unpaired students t-test. If you go through the topic of biostatistics in detail in the app, friends, you will find I have discussed, in fact, example of blood pressure hypertension only to make you understand which test of significance should be used under which situation. Which of the following are used in NPC DCS? Friends, it is a new program related to non-communicable diseases. Its answer lies in its full form. And what is the full form of this program? National Program for Prevention and Control of Cancer. D is diabetes. C is cardiovascular diseases. And S is stroke. So answer to this question, best possible combination of choices will be choice number D, CVD, cancer, diabetes and stroke. Friends, this program was initially launched in 100 plus districts of India through formation of NCD clinics, where screening and management of non-communicable diseases was being done, and now it has been scaled up to include now 450 districts in the country. recently they have included COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, but not bronchial asthma, and they have also included CKD, chronic kidney disease, in the program. A pilot project is going on where it has been envisaged to include rheumatic fever, TB, diabetes, joint screening, along with integration with Ayush stream. A doctor is teaching an intern about knee reflex demonstration. Which type of learning is this? Friends, first we should know what exactly is learning. Learning is defined as any relative permanent change of behavior due to practice or experience. When we look at learnings, they are basically of three types. These are cognitive learning, affective learning, and psychomotor learning. When we see their associations, cognitive learning is associated with knowledge. Affective learning, that is associated with attitude. And the third type, psychomotor learning, is associated with skills. Now read this question carefully. A doctor is teaching an intern how to elicit a knee jerk reflex. Now this is a skill building exercise. So this will be mainly psychomotor type of learning. Friends, under the sociology video in the mobile app, I had covered this learning type and association topic along with a mnemonic also, which will help you remember this concept. Now let's move to the next question. Under ICDS, intersectoral coordination is found with which of the following? NREGA scheme, National Rural Health Mission, National Leprosy Elimination Program, or National AIDS Control Program? It is National Rural Health Mission. Friends, ICDS, Integrated Child Development Services, which is delivering its services through heart of ICDS, that is Anganwadi Center. We have main focus on MCH. Maternal and child health. And when you see its beneficiaries, they are similar to beneficiaries mainly targeted under National Rural Health Mission, especially when you look at the nutritional supplementation part of the program. An example could be Anemia Mukt Bharat under National Rural Health Mission, where iron folic acid supplementation is being given to target beneficiaries which are also covered under ICDS scheme of India. Now friends, looking at the overall analysis, out of the 34 questions, 25 were directly from the mobile video lecture based application Dr. Vivek Jain PSM, giving it a strike rate of close to 3/4, exactly 74%. Friends, please remember, dreams won't work unless you do. With that, we come to the end of video discussion of FMG December 2020 PSM part. Thank you. I wish you all the best for a grand success in all your forthcoming examinations. Friends, please remember, you can download Dr. Vivek Jain PSM mobile app latest version from your Play Store.